All right, everyone, welcome back to Fluid Perception. This is our second episode. We got a few topics here for you, and we have our first special guest on with us today.
Yeah, so Peyton and I, we go to College of Idaho together. We're on the golf team, so we've spent a little bit of time, but yeah, he decided he wanted to come on, which is super great. So Peyton, if you want to introduce yourself.
My name's Peyton. I um I go to College of Idaho like Tristan does. I am both a math, physics, and a music education major. I am very passionate about the sciences and uh, obviously music education as well. I'm also a performer, and it's uh, it's a good time. I'm a third year student here.
Dick.
You mentioned you're a performer, but what do you perform specifically?
I classically train for um, classically trained means I sing opera and pop song, basically.
Oh, that.
Both baritone as a countertenor as well. I
Hold
know
on
everybody
one
knows.
second. Your audio is cutting in and out for us. Is that happening to you too, Tristan?
It sounds okay for me,
Oh,
but if it's happening to you, it's probably happening to
oh,
everyone.
okay.
So
Yeah, because I heard like half of what he just said. So,
oh, okay,
you,
I
you,
heard most of it.
yeah, you said opera baritone.
Baritone and countertenor, yes.
Is that singing or like the actual instruments?
Yeah, it's two different voice types.
Okay,
But
that's
tell
what I
me,
figured because I did like I was in band and I actually played the baritone, so I wasn't too sure.
okay. Yeah, baritone is we call it a modal singing voice, so it's the voice that I speak and sing in. Countertenor is, however, not my modal voice. It utilizes my falsetto and makes me sound like a mezzo soprano.
Oh, okay, I understood
Sweet.
a quarter of that, but that's pretty dope.
Or
Um,
an alto.
yeah,
I
so
learn new stuff every day.
so our first topic that we want to talk about is actually music, and it works well having you on with us. Uh, with music, I guess we were just wanting to go get the point of the importance of music. What exactly was it
Yeah,
that you wanted to bring up with it?
yeah. I think the other thing we wanted to go over is the effects of music on the modern day person. So for example, me, um, with school going on and just my whole school career, I've always used music as something to bring out feelings, like for studying, that allow me to focus more on my study work and like writing papers specifically. So um, I know Taylor and Peyton have a lot of experience, a little more experience in music, but I've always been a big fan of music because it brings out certain feelings that you don't really feel normally. So if either of you want to go into, I know
Yeah,
Taylor, you like are writing your book and you use music a lot. So
yeah. That's sorry. Hold on. Yeah, that's something that I would go into here in a sec. First off, I kind of want to get your definition of what you meant by music and its effect on modern people. Like, what what are you trying
like
to?
psychologically, like, or I guess even mentally too. So kind of how I said, music brings out certain feelings. Like you could be feeling one way and then you listen to a song and feel like a completely different way, or even feel like feelings that you've never felt before, like the isolation or I don't even like aggression, even or excitement. Songs bring out those emotions, and so for me, certain emotions are a lot more. I don't know. I
Prominent,
just say they're better for focusing, in my
vivid.
opinion. Yeah, vivid. Yeah, they're more vivid. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
just that's kind of what I thought we'd go into, and we could even go into how certain genres of music have negative effects and positive effects, and just our experiences with music
okay,
and stuff.
yeah. Because I wanted to like make it apparent or try and see if you meant the effects in a negative way or a positive way on the modern people.
Both.
Just
Yeah, both.
yeah, because
Both.
it's just such a broad
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I
topic.
think it has both. It can affect us in both ways. So I thought we'd go into both, but specifically the psychological and mental effects of music.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, like I mean, one thing it's a good way. I think it's a good way to channel your emotions as well. Like, um, one thing I tend to do is it's actually rather sad to me to say this. Like, say if I get ghosted by a girl and I'm like, man, I kind of feel like I want to get down right now, but I'm not actually like that sad. I'll go listen to sad music just so I could get sad because it's just the habit I have of doing it. But then I'll go and listen to, I like to listen to like what you would typically expect in like a beach movie, that type of music, the happy, upbeat music. I like to listen to that to keep my mood boosted and elevated. On top of that, when I work out, I listen to pretty hype music. You know, stuff whether it's aggressive or more energetic. I'll listen to that while I work out, just so there's something that I can pace myself off of. Um, and as you mentioned, like with writing, the best way I get into that mode of writing the fantasy stories that I like to write, I get myself in there and I use the music to help me visualize what's going on. So,
Yeah. Yep.
like I have this playlist of soundtracks from my favorite movies, video games. Sometimes they have vocals in them, but I like to imagine things going along with the music. So like if it's like classical music or just instrumentals, for that matter, and it's you have the wind instruments playing, it's kind of like soft, and I'll picture like a conversation or something kind of melodramatic going on with the wind instruments. But then whenever the brass instruments come in, like trumpets and trombones, I tend to like to picture like a great cavalry charge or some like majestic lord making an entrance type deal. That's kind of what I like to use that music for while I'm writing. Is it helps me put myself in it because I tend to actually think in imagery. Like I don't think with words, and that's why I fumble around with my words a lot personally. And I've heard that people think with the words. So, but yeah, I think with like imagery, and so when I'm able to add music to it, it's like I'm writing what I see in a movie, and that's how I write. Is I'm writing as if it's a movie that I'm trying to write down.
So yeah, if I could interject for
Yep.
once, I would. Um, First of all, to Tristan's point, is the emotional invocation. So that certain types or genres of music can kind of like foster certain emotions, and they can enhance them. I guess is what the word we were probably trying to look for. Make them more prominent is what I was going for. But yeah, I will not lie. On my Spotify, I do have a playlist made by me. I don't make playlists. This is like my personal private thing. I have a playlist titled "Sad Boy Hours," and like I listen to it when I am not a happy camper. You know, like it's a thing. But to Taylor's point, the like emotional manipulation, and so like you said, when you work out, you listen to a lot of more hype music or something that has, more attacks, I guess, more aggressive attacks in the music, or when like like you said, when you feel sad, like you have to listen to sad music to actually get into that state of emotion. And I think that's really something that I felt like was mainstream, honestly. And I felt like I had to do it a lot, but I'm not gonna lie, I have worked out to opera music before, and it's literally the greatest thing to me ever. Like,
Yeah, like I I have a playlist I make for like when I play space video games of like exploration. I have like cool ambient music for that, and sometimes I'll listen to that when I'm working out because I get tired of what I've been listening to, and I just need something different. And
yeah,
it's pretty nice actually. Um,
is that a natural noise or like in like
it's still like music, like not exactly like Star Wars music, but
okay,
just kind of
like
more.
piano and basic strings and stuff like that?
Yeah,
I don't know how to describe that type of music.
That's how I would think about it.
It's like void. It's like void music almost.
yeah, like
Cool.
like a good term would be isolation in space. That's how I picture that music is like being adrift in space, isolated, and it's really nice. And then, but yeah, like I've listened to that when I work out too. But
Yeah, I might be weird, but like whenever I'm trying to study or like focus on schoolwork, I always chose sad music. Like I try to like harness the sad part of me because I don't know why. Whenever I'm sad, I tend to focus a lot more. So that might be just me. There's someone out there who agrees with me though. So shout out to whoever you
Somebody.
are. Somebody out there likes to
No,
be
I think I
sad and they
can. I think I
focus.
can kind of connect the two. Is that the timbre of a lot of instruments, and if you don't know
Yeah.
the technical definition of timbre is the certain characteristics that an instrument has that defines it as an instrument. So, for instance, like the attack of the instrument. So, a violin obviously has a different sounding attack than a reed instrument like a bassoon, because just the way that the sound starts and the way that the sound resonates in the room is also very different too. So that's the definition of timbre. But typically in sad music, there's a lot of strings or piano, like
Yep.
very soft, like acoustic guitar is a very good one
Shout out
too.
to piano music.
Exactly. So, yet in, I'd say like ballads, you're using like electric guitar and maybe some drums and something that has a little bit more aggressive attack. And I think that's why you might feel that way. Is just like the soft timbre of all of those instruments is very relaxing, and therefore offers you some more focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I didn't ever know like the much of that scientific stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that either.
I knew some of it
It's
just because
kind
I
of a
was
tool of
in
the trade, I guess. I learned it in music theory, which is kind of strange, but
Okay, yeah, that's really cool. So like, each instrument, just the sound waves it produces in general, kind of resonate
yeah,
with
I
us.
mean they all resonate the same way and have the same frequencies. Like a middle C is still the same as any middle C played on any instrument. It's just the way the sound starts and the way it resonates and the way the sound ends too is a very big one. So for the voice especially, the way that the sound ends should always be like a very soft, what we call it glottal. It's like when you hear to say a g, g is like it's a soft glottal instead of a
Like,
like German is ah, like that's a hard glottal. So like singing, you always want to end on that like nice release of air.
okay,
I see.
that's actually really cool.
Makes sense.
I didn't do choir and I didn't know that, so.
I do 0% of that. Didn't know a
But
single
yeah, I
thing.
think that's why you can. I think that's why you probably focus a little bit more when you're listening to a lot like sadder emotion music.
It just
That would make sense, yeah.
it
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 resonates a little
utilizes that
different.
resonation of the gall as you mentioned, so it has that effect. Maybe
Yeah.
I could be speaking gibberish, but um, yeah,
You're,
no,
you're
that's
kind of
really,
right. Just kidding.
yeah.
The other thing I think that's cool about music is we kind of talked about it before, but the ability to express emotion from the maker of music. So not only does it, resonate with the listener on a certain level, but it's also an expression of emotion and lots of things from the maker, which is something probably everyone takes for granted, but it's kind of interesting to think about. So, like I think I've made a few. I haven't like made major music, obviously, but like I tried making something like songs, and it's actually really fun because it's your own type of work, and you get to put like your own sounds into it, and it's really cool. So
I think the most important thing to learn from that is when people think of composition, they think of like the classical era, but really composition can just be any formulation of music and silence. And I think that's what's really cool about music is it's not only the sounds that are made, but like the sound also between the silences that we have. So when you think of composition, you always think like, oh, this person was writing music for an orchestra. But like when you compose music, it's just out of your interpretation. You could write a simple melody and put some text to it, and there you just composed something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
and Tristan, you're right. There's always a new interpretation that comes with every piece of music ever written. I mean,
yeah, yeah. That's another
obviously,
interesting
a
thing.
lot
Like
of Mozart's things are like thematic, and everything he wrote
yeah,
is like functional. But
hmm
some people are unpredictable.
yeah. Like you can. What's the word you just used? not translate. You can not translate. You can listen to a song. Yeah, interpret. You can interpret a song like tons of different ways depending on who you are. Like different people can interpret a song different ways and feel different things, which is really cool.
Yeah, and if I could dive into like what I do in my vocal performance, actually a lot of my music that I sing is like purely academic. So there's got to be some way for me to interpret all of this music that I'm doing. A lot of it's operatic repertoire and art song, and like most of it's just kind of out of context. Like I don't sing an entire opera, obviously, right off the
Yeah,
bat. Like I
yeah,
usually just take an aria or a piece of like an ensemble that I learn. And what's really cool is that even while you're on stage, just like standing in front of a piano, you're not supposed to be like acting or anything. But there's a certain amount of like what type of facial expressions go into it and like what you do with your hands. There's like the emotions that you show through body language. And that's um, it's just a really cool way to explore the way you interpret music. And so, with a lot of the things that I've done in my college career, I'm a fairly reserved interpreter, and I usually underdo it. And you'll see a lot of people that look like it's flaunting, and everything just looks kind of ridiculous. But it's a really cool way to interpret music that's like out of context.
hmm
So it really is up to the person that sings that can
yeah,
really make or break a performance.
yeah, yeah. You can, yeah. I guess so. Then to that point, you can really interpret a song like from both sides. Like if you're trying to perform a piece, you can interpret it the wrong way and butcher the song, or you can interpret it the right way and make the song sound good. And from the listener perspective, you can, I guess I don't know. Do you think you can interpret a song the wrong way as a listener?
I think you have to try pretty hard.
Yeah,
Um,
I do too.
Usually, a lot of the things that I sing are in Italian and German and French,
hmm
so I have to translate them and then interpret them. So, like maybe there's a disconnect because a lot of it comes through as like formal English. But I really think that as long as you can understand like the historical context of the piece, and like Mozart wrote in the classical era, and a lot of it was based on how the music was written. So if you were ascending to a high note, like that was the climax. Like that wasn't
hmm
just like
Mm.
show off your range. Like that's usually where the most important piece of diction is. So it really just depends on, like I said, historical context and what the text is saying, who you're talking to. Like especially in an opera, if I'm singing an aria, like I'm usually it's typically like a solo piece, so I could be singing to someone or I could be like interacting with myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to make it apparent like who you're talking to. Like there's a
I
really
see.
cool one from the Magic Flute. um, the He's not a main character, but he's like the comedic relief is a Papageno, and he literally sings a suicide aria, and he's like trying to talk to other people, like, is anyone gonna convince me not to kill myself? But like no one hears him, so he like it feels like he's singing to himself. So I think
I
it's a
see.
really interesting. It's almost like a soliloquy, like when people are in a play or something, they just like stop and talk to the audience.
Yeah,
It's a soliloquist input. It's really just how you. It's just how your emotions affect you and how well you can in, display that through body language
hmm
and
I see.
Yeah,
those things.
yeah.
If that makes any sense at all, please
Oh
ask
no,
me to clarify.
it,
No, yeah, that makes
Well,
sense to
anyway.
me.
like I like to party and I go to when I was in at BYU I'd go to parties and I just love to dance like I just
BYU?
I sorry
I'm just kidding.
um, like as you were saying with the able to show emotion just through your um like the word escapes me but
Body
just
language.
yeah body language just like I've I'm not once taken a dance class besides middle school gym and just like I'll go to parties and just have a great time. People would always join in and none of us knew what we were doing but like you can feel it in the music and like at half the time I actually looked pretty good. So I mean, it's I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
No, and I think that's the thing too, especially with performing. It's like a lot of the times maybe you do look like a fool, but at least you're giving your personal interpretation on the music.
Mhm.
That's what I think is important. Like, I don't dance and I don't act. I really just love to perform music. So putting me on a stage in front of people and like, here, sing this with emotional interpretation, I kind of just do my thing. Then if people like it, they like it, and they don't, that sucks. I hope I impress you with my voice at least.
Yeah.
Do you ever like when you're singing your opera? Do you always have your hand out like this and just shatter the light bulbs?
You know, I actually completed my first full operatic role in February, and I had one high note. It was a high G, which is for a baritone is pretty high. I actually did do like the whole hand up thing. I kind of felt like so cliche for it, but I like stomped my foot on the ground and did this, and was like, ah. It was kind of fun. But no, not typically.
Okay.
We need to pull up that
There's
video.
a lot of movement.
John, pull up that video.
Anyways, continue. You said a lot of that movement. You were saying.
Wait.
You interrupted him.
Oh, sorry.
He was saying
I mean,
something about the movement. But it's past us, I guess. So what else? I mean, what else were you wanting to talk about there, Tristan? I mean.
I think we pretty much went over it. Actually, that was pretty good. Unless, I mean, Peyton could probably go on all day about it. But do you have anything else you
Oh, I
want to talk
definitely
about?
could.
Yeah.
Well, I mean.
No, we hit everything I thought we could talk about.
Well, you weren't.
Yeah, I think
we
the
didn't-
one actually, Tristan, the one thing was like the positive v negative effect.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So.
But just to quickly note on that, I think would be there are certain genres of music that are definitely in the modern era, not to point any fingers or anything, but that are, explicit and sexually aggressive and
Mhm.
My kind of
things that probably wouldn't, like psychologists wouldn't agree
Yeah.
being like healthy.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and point the finger at rap. So, I think.
Okay, so yeah, at least I didn't have to do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care. Someone can come on and.
It sounds worse
say
coming
it
from
doesn't-
me because here I am talking about opera, and then like obviously this modern stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
I mean, well, I'll say it because I actually like rap, but.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I'll
Gospel
point the
rap.
finger at rap. I would definitely agree. I would say it's. I don't know. I think you could make the case that it's positive just because it's music and you could interpret it a certain way, but at the same time, I mean, you can't really get past like the lyrics behind it. And
WAP.
yeah, I don't even want. Okay, I hate WAP. I'm sorry. Some girl can come on. Some girl can come on and say that they love it, but I'm sorry. I hate WAP. I don't
Somebody
understand.
comment.
Like, yeah. Is someone commenting right now, Taylor? I'm just kidding.
No, not that I've seen that.
Okay, well, yeah. So I would say rap is definitely one that you can make a good argument to be negative towards modern people, especially psychologically. Kind of like Payne said, with super vulgar lyrics like that degrade women and WAP. I don't even understand how that's made by a woman. Like you're degrading yourself almost. I don't understand, but
It's
Have you seen
it's
her
like a
singing it?
societal norm. It's,
I guess
it's
so.
kind of creepy
Like,
to me.
yeah, it freaks me out, but
Yeah.
and like women would listen to it like it's
The
The new-
gospel.
like the new
Yeah.
feminist. It's like a feminist declaration of independence or something now, I guess. But
The new Constitution.
yeah, I don't. I'm like, okay, like if that's what y'all are into, like more power to you. But yeah, I would say rap is definitely the one we could talk
And
about.
and I'll
negative.
acknowledge even being kind of like a pre-modern, I don't know, I guess classical, baroque, and romantic music is obviously very different from
Mhm.
new style country and contemporary and rap. But I will advocate for the fact that there's a lot of poetry inside,
Mhm.
especially some of like the first bloomings of rap. Like
Mhm.
Tupac, I know, was very expressive with a lot of his text. So it's not something to discredit. It's
Oh,
just
yeah,
some of it has been taken to a different level, and there's like, oh no, it's poetry, and I'm like, no, you're just talking about fucking bitches and getting money. Like, there's no,
Yeah.
there's no.
Yeah, and maybe
Old
yeah,
rap.
I definitely. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Like older rap. Like I was always impressed with just their vocabulary, how they're able to rhyme so well and make it flow so well.
Yeah.
I kind of tend to listen to like the modern rap because I like a lot of it, but I don't really care for the lyrics. It's mainly the beat because a lot of the beats today I think are really good, and that's kind of what I'm
And that
listening
is a
to.
nice aesthetic too, I will admit.
Yeah, like I
I
mainly
agree.
listen to rap for the beat and even like in a weird way, like I do rely on the vocals or lyrics of the songs, but I'm not registering what they're saying. It's just like the noise or like the frequency of their vocals that I'm liking as well. Like they could
That sounds
be
like white noise in the
yeah,
background.
like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like they could
yes,
they could be saying Coca-Cola in the most elegant way, and I love it, but I don't even register they're saying Coca-Cola. You know, like it's just like the actual just noise and flow of the words that they're saying. I do really enjoy, but like if I listen deep, they're talking about pussy and stuff. I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna zone that out again. You know, but
yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I guess I'll take back. I shouldn't toss out rap like that. So I'm sorry to any rap activists out there. There are definitely rap songs that are like very poetic and well done lyrically and beats wise. But
mm,
But yeah, I think that'll bring it back to full circle, like
yeah,
what we really introduced it as, and then
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
polishing it off.
totally. But yeah, like I mean, I definitely rely on music for just like 90% of my emotions even, you know, like if I'm in a good mood, I'll go listen to some good mood music. I tend to listen to music when I play video games, when I drive, when I'm writing, when I'm trying to fall asleep, I'll listen to music because that helps me with just dreaming and stuff. Like I can get my thoughts in like a nice comfortable spot to fall asleep with, and you just like I find myself listening to music constantly in all sorts of genres. But
If anybody uses Spotify, I do. In 2020 alone, I spent more than 50,000 minutes listening to music. So,
yeah, like
I mean,
I
pretty easy to do.
yeah.
yeah the as I had mentioned earlier, I have the playlist with like soundtracks and stuff. I was the number one listener to Howard Shore, who composed the music for The Lord of the Rings. I
You
was
were?
yeah, I was in his top
That's it.
0.005% listeners for like most listened stuff. So
I
I'm
would
pretty
say,
sure I'm like the main person who listened to him. Um,
yeah.
like I listened to
I would say it
this.
was the same way. I had a 0.005 percentile too for an artist.
yeah, like
Legendary.
I'm pretty sure I listened to the song he uses for the Rohirrim charge. I'm pretty sure I listened to that song like 3 times a day for all of 2020. And then like there's one other song I think it was Paper Plane. Surprisingly, was like one of my top songs, and I was like that song kind of slaps, so why not?
It does.
so, but, yeah, I mean, I think music is definitely important. I love music. Almost all genres. I tend not to listen to like scream, metallic, hard rock, you know, or country. I don't listen to country, but that's about it.
Slap country on the end of that list.
yeah,
I'm the same as Taylor. I'm in that same boat
copier.
sometimes.
Anyways, but yeah, I guess we can. Unless you guys still have more to talk about, we can go ahead and move on to our next topic.
I've gone over everything I want to.
Okay. So
Unless Peyton, does Peyton have anything else?
I'm a music major, man. You don't want to ask me a question.
Okay, I think we're good to move on. I think we hit everything.
okay, yeah.